Hello children, I hope all is well with you and your family. I'm back with another educational video, and in today's lesson we would discuss about one of the famous scientists, one of the rarest genius of this world. And who is he? He's none other than Albert Einstein. I'm sure we all are aware of Albert Einstein. But in this biographical lesson, we will get to know about his life, his interest in science and mathematics, and his humanistic attributes. We even get to know that he advocated world peace and non-violence in the chapter A Truly Beautiful Mind. Now, before we start with the line-by-line explanation of the chapter, let me just give you a brief synopsis of what the chapter is all about. Albert Einstein, who was born on March 14, 1897 in the German city of Ulm, looked to be an ordinary boy with no signs of greatness. When he learned to speak, he spoke everything twice. He was termed boring by other children, as he always kept to himself. Even his headmaster told his father that he would never make a success at anything. However, Einstein was intelligent and scored good marks in every subject. He never liked a strict disciplined school, and so he left school at the age of 15. He was highly interested in mathematics and physics. Einstein and Mileva Maric fell in love with each other, and their love was expressed in science. Einstein, after getting his university degree, started working as a technical expert in a patent office in Bern in 1902. Where he called his desk as the Bureau of Theoretical Physics. When his marriage with Mileva faltered, they both parted ways, and Einstein married Elsa, his cousin. His work on general theory of relativity was published in 1915. He received the Nobel Prize for Physics in 1921. He worked for peace and harmony by bringing an end to the arms buildup. He died in 1955 at the age of 76. Now, let us move on to the line-by-line explanation of the chapter A Truly Beautiful Mind. Albert Einstein was born on 14th March 1879 in the German city of Ulm without any indication that he was destined for greatness. So, the opening line tells us that Albert Einstein, the famous scientist Albert Einstein, was born on 14th March 1879 in the German city of Ulm. Now, when he was a child, no one could predict that this boy would one day become a great scientist. On the contrary, his mother thought Albert was a freak. To her, his head seemed much too large. So, we see that Albert Einstein's mother thought he was not a normal boy. For her, he was a bit different. She even thought that her child's head was way too big or large in comparison to the normal children. At the age of 2.5, Einstein still wasn't talking. When he finally did learn to speak, he uttered everything twice. So, when Einstein started speaking, he spoke everything twice. he used to repeat everything he said. Einstein did not know what to do with other children, and his playmates called him Brother Boring. Now, he was termed Brother Boring by the other children or his playmates. And why so? This is because he did not know what to do. He did not play with them. He spent most of his time alone. So, he was called Brother Boring by the other children of his school. So, the youngsters played by himself much of the time. He especially loved mechanical toys. Looking at his newborn sister Maja, he is said to have said, "Fine, but where are her wheels?" So, now the narrator is telling us that, he had a special interest in mechanical toys. He was interested in mechanical toys. And so, when he saw his newborn sister Maja, he asked about her wheels. So it can be said that for him, his sister was a toy who would walk with the help of wheels. And since he could not find the wheels, so he was curious and he asked about it. A headmaster once told his father that what Einstein chose as a profession wouldn't matter because he'll never make a success at anything. We find that even Einstein's headmaster gave a negative statement or a negative feedback about Einstein, where he said that he would never be successful in his life, whatever profession he chooses. Einstein began learning to play the violin at the age of 6 because his mother wanted him to. He later became a gifted amateur violinist, maintaining this skill throughout his life. So, we get to know about one of the qualities of Einstein. And what is that? That is, he was a very good violinist. Okay? He learned playing violin because his mother wanted him to. But later on, he became a gifted amateur violinist. Now, what is an amateur? Amateur means doing something for personal enjoyment rather than as a profession. So, he played violin for his personal enjoyment and not as a profession. But Albert Einstein was not a bad pupil. He went to high school in Munich, where Einstein's family had moved when he was 15 months old and scored good marks in almost every subject. So, we see, if we keep those facts in mind, where his mother considers him to be a bit different from other children. Even we find the headmaster of his school telling his father that, he won't be successful in life. But this statement is completely contrary to what they said. Here we find that he was not a bad pupil. That means he was not a bad student. And when he was shifted to the school in Munich, where his family had shifted when he was just 15 months old, in that school he scored good marks in almost every subject. So this proves that he was a very good student. Einstein hated the school regimentation and often clashed with his teachers. So now we get to know that Einstein did not like the strict discipline in school, okay, and sometimes he even opposed his teachers. Einstein hated the school regimentation and often clashed with his teacher. At the age of 15, Einstein felt so stifled there that he left the school for good. So, since he could not get accustomed to the strict rules of the school, he decided that he would leave school, and thus, at the age of 15, for his own good, he left school. And why so? Because he felt suffocated there. The previous year, Albert's parents had moved to Milan and left their son with relatives. After prolonged discussion, Einstein got his wish to continue his education in German-speaking Switzerland in a city which was more liberal than Munich. So, we get to know that just 1 year before he left the school in Munich forever, his parents left him with his relatives and moved to Milan. Then, after 1 year, we find that at the age of 15, he leaves the school in Milan. He leaves the school in Munich, and then he wanted to join a German-speaking education center in Switzerland. Okay? After a long discussion with his parents and relatives, his wish to continue his education in Switzerland got fulfilled. So, he wanted to study in an environment which was more liberal and not strict like that of Munich. He thus moves to a new city and gets himself admitted in a new German-speaking school. Einstein was highly gifted in mathematics and interested in physics, and after finishing school, he decided to study at a university in Zurich. But science wasn't the only thing that appealed to the dashing young man with the walrus mustache. So, we get to know that Einstein was exceptionally good in mathematics and physics. And after completing his education, he wanted to continue his study, and so he wanted to get himself admitted in a university in Zurich. So, but here we get to know that science was not only one thing that appealed to the dashing young man, the handsome young man. Okay, there was something else which appealed to him. And what was that? Let us see. Now, what is a walrus mustache? You can see the shape of his mustache here. So, it's a particular shape of mustache. So, since he was very handsome, so here he has been referred to as the dashing young man with the walrus mustache. He's also felt a special interest in a fellow student, Mileva Maric. So, like I told you before, that science wasn't the only thing that attracted the young handsome Einstein. And what was the other reason? The other reason was Mileva Maric, okay, whom he found to be a clever creature. Einstein thought that Mileva was a clever creature. That means that she was sharp and intelligent. This young Serb had come to Switzerland because the university in Zurich was one of the few in Europe where women could get degrees. So, this young woman from Siberia had come to Switzerland because, this university in Zurich was one of the few universities in Europe where women were allowed to study. Okay, so Einstein met Mileva in the university in Zurich. Einstein saw in her an ally. What is an ally? Ally is a friend against the Philistines. Now, who are the Philistines? Philistines are people who do not like art, literature and music. So, we get to see that, Einstein felt Mileva was his friend as they both shared the same interest. Like, they both liked art and literature and music. So, they both were against the Philistines. Those people in his family and at the university with whom he was constantly at odds. So, he was the one who had interest in art, in literature and in music. But few of his relatives, few of his family members and even some of his friends from the university were the Philistines. That means they did not like art, literature or music. And since they both shared the same interest, they became friends. The couple fell in love, and very soon they fell in love with each other. Letters survive in which they put their affection into words, mixing science with tenderness. Wrote Einstein, "How happy and proud I shall be when we both have brought our work on relativity to a victorious conclusion." So, we see, the way he expressed his love for Mileva also had a touch of science in it. So, instead of actually, showing how happy he would be when the project in which they are working together would be successful. So, the affection of being proud of your love was mixed with science. Okay? So, he just wrote that, he will be very happy when the project that they are working together on relativity would be a success. In 1900, at the age of 21, Albert Einstein was a university graduate and unemployed. So, at the age of 21, he finished his university education and he was a university graduate. He worked as a teaching assistant, gave private lessons and finally secured a job in 1902 as a technical expert in the patent office in Bonn. So, we see that after getting a university degree, after securing a university degree, he started teaching, he started giving private lessons, and finally in 1902 he secured a job for himself in a patent office in Bern. While he was supposed to be accessing other people's inventions, Einstein was actually developing his own ideas in secret. He is said to have jokingly called his desk drawer at work the Bureau of Theoretical Physics. So, in 1902, he secured a job for himself as a technical expert in a patent office in Bern. And what is a patent office? It's an office where the people working are given the right for an invention in form of a document. And what was Einstein's job? Einstein's job was to access those inventions, whether they are original, whether they will be working or not, etc. Einstein, while accessing other people's invention, he started working on his personal invention. And he jokingly called his desk where he would sit and work in this office in Bern, he used to call that desk the Bureau of Theoretical Physics. One of the famous papers of 1905 was Einstein's special theory of relativity, according to which time and distance are not absolute. Indeed, two perfectly accurate clocks will not continue to show the same time if they come together again after a journey, if one of them has been moving very fast relative to the other. From this followed the world's most famous formula, which describes the relationship between mass and energy. So we see that Einstein's special theory of relativity was published in one of the famous papers of 1905. Okay, and according to that, Einstein said that the measurement of time and distance are not absolute, are not fixed. For example, if two perfectly accurate clocks will not show the same time if they come together after a journey, that means it will show different time. That is, time is not constant, its measurement will change. And followed this famous special theory of relativity, he has described the relationship between mass and energy. That is, E equals to mc square. In this mathematical equation, E stands for energy, m for mass, and c for the speed of light in a vacuum. Vacuum means where there is no air. While Einstein was solving the most difficult problems in physics, his private life was unraveling. Albert had wanted to marry Mileva right after finishing his studies, but his mother was against it. So, we see that although he was going on solving difficult problems in physics, but his private life was falling apart with Mileva. He wanted to marry Mileva, but his mother was against it. Why so? Because she thought Mileva, who was 3 years older than her son, was too old for him. She was also bothered by Mileva's intelligence. She is a book like you, his mother said. Einstein put the wedding off. So what happened? When his mother opposed his wedding with Mileva. Why so? Because she thought that since she was 3 years older than him, she thought that she was, she was more intelligent and she was more old for him. She even thought that, since Mileva was an educated woman, she was also like Einstein. And so she opposed to this marriage. And Einstein also put his wedding off with Mileva. The pair finally married in January 1903 and had 2 sons. But a few years later, the marriage faltered. Mileva, meanwhile, was losing her intellectual ambition and becoming an unhappy housewife. After years of constant fighting, the couple finally divorced in 1919. Einstein married his cousin Elsa the same year. So, the pair, that means Mileva and Einstein, they got married in January 1903. And they even had 2 sons. You can see the picture here, Mileva and Einstein with their son. But after a few years, their marriage faltered. That means their marriage became weak. And Mileva, who was managing the household, she could not cope up with her ambition. She was an educated lady, but she was a housewife, she was looking after her children. She was not working. And thus, she started feeling unhappy. And after years of constant fighting, the couple finally got separated in 1919. After he got divorced in 1919, he married his cousin Elsa the same year. That means he married Elsa in the year 1919, just after he got divorced. You can see the picture of Elsa here. So this is Elsa and this is Einstein. Einstein's new personal chapter coincided with his rise to world fame. Einstein's new personal chapter, that means Einstein's marriage with Elsa, happened at the same time when he rose to world fame, when he became world famous. So both the things happened at the same time. So it's coincided. In 1915, he had published his general theory of relativity, which provided a new interpretation of gravity. So in 1915, he published his general theory of relativity, which gave a new dimension to gravity, new interpretation of gravity. An eclipse of the sun in 1990 brought proof that it was accurate. So, an eclipse, a solar eclipse in the year 1919, proved that his theory was accurate. Einstein had correctly calculated in advance the extent to which the light from fixed stars would be deflected through the sun's gravitational field. The newspaper proclaimed his work as a scientific revolution. So, in advance, Einstein correctly, accurately calculated that the extent which the light from the fixed stars would be deflected. So the newspapers proclaimed his work, declared his work as a scientific revolution. Einstein received the Nobel Prize for Physics in 1921. He was showered with honors and invitations from all over the world and lauded by the press. So he not only received the Nobel Prize for Physics in 1921, but he also started receiving honors and invitations from all over the world. We know that he became world famous and he was lauded, he was praised by the press, by the media as well. When the Nazis came to power in Germany in 1933, Einstein emigrated to the United States. 5 years later, the discovery of nuclear fission in Berlin had American physicists in an uproar. Many of them had fled for fascism, just as Einstein had, and now they were afraid that Nazis could build and use an atomic bomb. So when the Nazis came to power in Germany in 1933, Einstein left Germany and he permanently settled in United States. 5 years later, after he shifted to United States, the discovery of nuclear fission. Now, what is a nuclear fission? The process of usage of nuclear bombs or atomic bombs in Berlin had American physicists in an uproar. They made the American physicists very obsessed. They were very upset. Many of them had fled from fascism, that is dictatorship rule, just like he had done, Einstein had done, and now they were afraid that the Nazis could build atomic bombs and they can use it to harm any country. The Nazis were ruled by Hitler. At the urging of a colleague, Einstein wrote a letter to the American President Franklin D. Roosevelt on 2nd August 1939, in which he warned a single bomb of this type exploded in a port might very well destroy the whole port together with some of the surrounding territory. So here he gave a description that, if any one atomic bomb is exploded or nuclear bomb is exploded in a port, it will not only destroy the port but also its surrounding territory, also its surrounding areas. His words did not fail to have an effect, and his words had a tremendous effect on people. The Americans developed the atomic bomb in a secret project of their own and dropped it on the Japanese cities of Hiroshima and Nagasaki in August 1945. So the Americans, they quickly developed an atomic bomb and they dropped the bomb on one of the Japanese cities of Hiroshima and Nagasaki in August 1945. Einstein was deeply shaken by the extent of the destruction. He was deeply shaken. He was shocked by the extent of destruction the atomic bomb or the nuclear bomb had caused. This time, he wrote a public missive to the United Nations. Missive, it's a letter, especially long and official. In it, he proposed the formation of a world government Unlike the letter to Roosevelt, this one made no impact. So the first letter which he, sent it to the American president, that was more impactful than this letter. But over the next decade, Einstein got ever more involved in politics. So later on in his life, he got more involved in politics, agitating for an end to the arms build-up and using his popularity to campaign for peace and democracy. So he started, campaigning for peace and democracy, for peace and harmony. When Einstein died in 1955 at the age of 76, he was celebrated as a visionary and world citizen as much as a scientific genius. So, when he died at the age of 76 in 1955, he was celebrated as a world citizen. Okay? He was celebrated as a visionary and a world citizen. With this, we complete the line by line explanation of the chapter. Now, let us move to the justification of the title. The title of the story is appropriate as it clearly brings out the beautiful aspects of Albert Einstein's mind. He was exceptionally brilliant in science and mathematics. He even worked for bringing peace and harmony in the world by bringing an end to the arms build-up. A special quality that a beautiful mind should possess is that it should not harm anyone. It can discriminate between right and wrong for the world, and it can make valid judgments in conflicting matters. The story clearly highlights the humanistic attributes of Einstein's mind. Thus, we can say that he really had a beautiful mind. Indeed, this man possessed a truly beautiful mind. Thank you for watching this video. Stay home and stay safe.